it's Michelle Upton here today, and I have another video to share with you. This is another video that was recorded live on the Hero Arts Facebook page as one of their crafty hour videos that happen weekly. So I've edited this video to upload it to YouTube. So I'm starting with some Strathmore Bristol cardstock because I am going to be using a fair bit of water, and you can see I'm actually going to be ink smooshing, which I'm doing right now. So I basically squished some Thistle Reactive ink onto my craft mat here and sprayed it with a fair bit of water, and then smushed my cardstock into it. Now I've heat set that for the first round, and then I've smushed a little bit more. Now this time I've used a bit less water, and you can see that the little smushes that I get are much more intense than the first round. So I always like to do multiple rounds of smushing, and I also like to move the cardstock around, sort of twist it a little bit, so I get sort of different shapes of smushes on the cardstock. So again, I'm heat setting this, or just drying it off really. And now I've got my stamps that I'm using today, which is a collaboration stamp set between Hero Arts and Gina K. It's called the Friendship Blooms stamp set, and it's one of my favourites. And it was actually released for Hero Arts' 45th anniversary a couple of years ago. So I'm inking this large floral stamp up with Versamark ink, and you can see that I've positioned it so that I'm just getting part of that stamped image onto my cardstock, and I'll stamp that twice to make sure I've got a really good impression. I'm going to heat emboss this. So here I go, stamping again and just pressing down nice and firmly with my pressure tool. And now I'm just going to grab the cardstock and rotate it around. So I actually placed the stamp onto my MISTI so that it would only take up about half of the height of the cardstock. And so I have sort of a mirror image, kind of, not exactly a mirror image, but kind of. And again, I'm making sure I've got a really, really good impression with my Versamark ink here. So this is a clear sticky ink, and then I'm going to be using that so that I can get my embossing powder to stick. I actually used my anti-static powder tool from the Rabbit Hole Designs, the Cottontail powder tool, before I inked up this stamp to make sure I didn't get any stray bits of embossing powder where I didn't want them. So I've used Hero Arts white embossing powder, and now I am melting that with my heat tool, making sure I get every little bit, and there's my embossing done. All right, so you can't really see it in a lot of detail right now, but I am going to be adding a whole lot more colour. So I've just put my 3 ink pads that I'm going to be working with into my inkstand here, and I'm going to be basically watercolouring with them. So I'm just putting them onto my, again, my non-stick work surface here. I'm using the colours Thistle, Berry Smoothie and Purple Galaxy. Not in that order, actually. From left to right there, Thistle, Purple Galaxy and Berry Smoothie. All right, so I'm starting with the Thistle, which is the same colour that I used in the background, but because this time I'm not adding as much water, I'm getting a much more intense colour. And you can see I'm not really taking that much care with my watercolouring. I just want to get some colour down. Now I'm going in with the Berry Smoothie to get a little bit more pink tones into these flowers. And I'm trying not to go outside the lines too much, but I'm not getting upset with myself if I do go outside the lines. I'm trying to get a sort of loose look to these flowers. So I didn't want, and I also didn't want to spend heaps and heaps of time being too fussy about where the colour went. But I am making sure that all the petals have some colour on them, and making sure there's a bit of variety of colour there. I didn't want the flowers to be all one colour. All right, so I'm eventually going to add a little bit of the really dark colour, which is the Purple Galaxy. Here I go. And I'm just going to add it in little splotches. I decided I had a little bit too much of the purple on this one, so I just blotted some of that up with my baby wipe there. And just, yeah, adding a little bit of darkness here and there, not in any particular places, just to get some variation, as I said. But then once I've finished with the flowers, I'm going to go in and colour in the leaves. And with the leaves, I am being a little bit more careful. I didn't want to go outside the lines. I did actually go outside the lines a little bit on one, but if you don't tell anybody, that would be really good. Thanks very much. I wanted those leaves to be really, really dark up against the rest of the card. So yeah, just using the purple on those leaves. Okay, so the water brush that I'm using is actually one of the water brushes that I have from a Hero Arts kit. I'm not quite sure which one I got this one from. I've got a couple of Hero Arts kits that actually have water brushes in them. But yeah, usually if Hero Arts has watercolours in their kit, they will provide a water brush to go with them. So that's really cool. All right, so I'm almost finished with this panel now. So all I need to do is I'm going to actually add a little bit more spatter. I decided that those little bits of ink smooshing that gave me some really intense colour, you can see them sort of right in the middle to the right of the flowers, right in the middle. I really like those bits. So I decided to add a bit more splatter to my card. There are the bits that I really like. So I want a bit more of those. So I've just got a really, really old paintbrush and I've wet it and dunked it into that same thistle colour as I used before. And a little trick, if you want to do splatters, just pick up your ink and water on an acrylic block and then you can just flick the brush off the edge of the acrylic block. You can also use your fingertip like I'm just doing now. But yeah, various different ways that you can add splatter there. And now I'm just making sure that all of those are dry. There were still a few bits on the flowers that were wet and the leaves and also the spatters. I'm just running it through my die cutting machine just to help flatten it out because I have used a fair bit of water on it. It has warped a bit. So I'm just trying to flatten it out just a little bit. It is still a little bit warped, but it's okay. I'll just add lots and lots of adhesive when I add it to my card front. Okay, so now on to my sentiment. So again, I'm using my Cottontail powder tool to prep my cardstock. So the cardstock that I'm using here is Hero Hues cardstock and it's called Plum. And I thought the colour went quite nicely. It doesn't actually match perfectly the colours on my card because, I mean, I've got a lot of variety of the colours on the card because I've got really intense colour and I've also got watered down colour. But anyway, I thought the plum colour blended in very nicely. Now, with my sentiments, one thing I really like doing with sentiments is to cut them really, really close and then fussy cut around the letters that go above and below the line that I've cut. So with this bottom line, I'm just fussy cutting around that Y there of yourself. And then the top line is all just straight, so I'll just cut straight across that. And then I can just fussy cut the edges of those words there. And basically it's a way of still having a sentiment, still having it nice and legible on a sort of solid background, but it not taking up too much space because I don't really want to cover up too much of my floral background because I quite like it. So yeah, this is a way that I quite often do that. All right, so my panel, I actually have a card that I made previous to this one, which I'll show you at the end of this video. And with that one, I had the panel going vertically. So I had a portrait style card. But I decided for this one, I wanted it to be a landscape. style card. And for the portrait one, I actually had a white border around, you can see it there, a white border right around the edge of the card. But for the landscape one, I decided I just wanted a white border at the top and the bottom. So I just sliced off some of my watercolour panel, and as you can see, I'm adding lots of adhesive on the back because it is a little bit warped and I don't want it popping off my card base. So the card base I have made from Neenah Solar White 110 pound. I really like the 110 pound weight for card bases. It's nice and sturdy. All right, so now I'm going to add my sentiment. And I'm just using some little foam adhesive dots here, little hexagons. And I've cut some of them down to fill in the extra spaces so that my sentiment won't sort of droop and it won't get squished in the mail. All right, I'm just placing that sort of to the bottom right of my card, and I'm going to finish off with some little gemstones. These are called bubble blowout embellishments from Trinity Stamps. And they're really nice because they are see-through. And so when this glue dries, I'm using Hero Art's Precision Glue. When that glue dries, you'll be able to actually see through those little embellishments. So there's both cards, the one that I started with and the one that I made in the video today. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.